Hi everyone, welcome to On the Other Hand. I'm Ariane Zurcher and we are at Lesson 7. Lesson 7 covers the otter. We will be doing the entire otter, head to toe or head to tail. So join me as we continue to stitch our handmade needle roll. I have created a Facebook group. It's called Ariane Zurcher Stitching Circle. And I'm hoping that all of you who are on Facebook, if you'd like to join, please do. I'm putting the link in the description section. You just need to click on the link. There are 2 questions that you must answer before you're admitted into the group. The purpose is to have fun, to get inspired, to show the work that you're working on, hand stitching, to focus on hand stitching. I will be on there quite often, so you can ask questions, you can get help with any of your projects, and share resources with other members, but mostly just have a great time. So join us. Don't forget to hit the like button. Click on the subscribe button and the little bell that shows up, and click on that for email notifications. I love hearing from you, so leave me comments in the comment section. Tell me how you're going. Where are you in your process? Have you just begun? Do you have ideas that have come about as a result of watching these videos on the needle roll? Tell me everything. Let's get started on stitching our needle roll together. All right, are we ready for the otter? So on page 9, we're starting with the otter's eyes using number 8 MZ02, which is this one, and a number 3 Milner's. I'm going to do a 7 wrap bouillon for his eyes. If it helps to make a little mark, you can do that. My little marks. I'm not going to worry that they're in pencil because I'm going to cover them. So I'm going to start at the corner of one eye. I'm going to do a little 7 wraps. So that's 7. Pull my bouillon through. There's his first eye. I'm going to pull my thread under the layer of wool to the other side. And then I'm going to come up to the other side. And there it is. I'm going to wrap 7 times. And then for the otter's mouth, I'm going to use the same thread, and I'm going to stitch the upper mouth with a 12 wrap bouillon. And his mouth is just under his nose. So I'm going to just go right there to there. I'm going to do 12 wraps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. Pull that through. Now I can tack this part down. I think I'm going to leave it. And then it says to tack it down. I'm going to see how I feel. Do his lower mouth using an 8 wrap. So it's going to be a little bit smaller. I'm going to come through the same general vicinity of the same holes even, if I can. Okay. And then this is a 8 wrap. I don't think I need to tack it down. I think I'm going to leave it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead here, and I'm going to start down here because why not? I'm just going to do a little back stitch around his face. I'm keeping my back stitches pretty small. And I'm not going through all the layers. I'm really just going through the layer directly below. If I do go through all the layers by mistake, that's fine. I'm just not trying to. I'm also not pulling this tight. I don't want this to get bunched up around his face. I want it to be just an outline, a kind of shadow. right, now I'm on to page 10. Okay, so now I'm going to, using number 80 ZMO2, I'm going to do a back stitch around the dark chocolate wool. So that means his face, and do all the way around his face, his little paw here, and his tail. It's a construction site right across the street, and they have that backup signal going all the time. All right, so I'm just going to keep doing this all the way around all of my dark chocolate pieces of wool. Just zooming out so you could see my assistant. He's always near. Always near. It's just the camera. When I'm zooming in so close so you can see the stitches, you don't usually see him. I'm at the next part of my instructions. I'm now on page 10, I believe. Using number 5, EZMO3, do a back stitch around the otter's body and leg. So the body here and this leg. I'll start with this little piece. Disappears under the wave. Just doing my little back stitch. It's definitely harder to stitch through the cotton. Wool is just so much easier to stitch through. And then I'm going to come along here, and I really just want it to be like a little shadow. According to my directions, the next thing I do is using EZM 96, which is this one, number 5. I'm going to do a back stitch around this leg and this arm. But since I already have some of the other EZM03 still on my needle, I'm going to go ahead and do the seed stitches over the otter's belly. And then I'll go back and do the other. It'll be fine. Can make these quite small or long. It doesn't matter. It's really up to you what you feel like. So I'm just doing my seed stitch, and I'm kind of thinking of it as like a little dome here, just over his belly, like little beads of water. There we go. That's good. All right, so now I'm going to go back and do my number 5 EZM 96 and do this arm and this leg. As I said earlier, these are really, it just creates like a little shadow, a little echo. And I try to get this back stitch just to the outside of the applique wool piece that I'm back stitching around, just so that it doesn't get hidden, like under here. See how that's getting hidden. But it's better if it comes out. The wave is going to come here, so it's not going to really matter. But I like it when it's just to the edge of that shape. There's that, and now I'm going to do around his little leg. All right, I've done all the back stitching around his body, this leg, the dark wool. I forgot to do his nose, so I'm going to go back and do that. But now I'm going to do his whiskers. And the way I do it is I'm using number 5 weight Easy MO3. I've made a quilter's knot in the back. I'm going to pull it all the way through. And then I'm going to do a little knot right here. And I'm going to cut the length. And that way, his whiskers will be secure. So there's the first one. Make a quilter's knot. I'm going to go on the other side. I pull it really tight because I want that secure. And I'll make a couple that are maybe a little longer. Cut this one maybe here. I can always trim them, you know. You don't have to do 5. You could just do 3 if you felt like it. I'm going to do a seed stitch along his little tail here. It just gives it the look of water sort of glistening off of it. That was the idea of it. If you're a total beginner, it might be helpful to look at the video I did of threading and beginning and ending thread. So how to thread, how to do a quilter's knot, and then how to end your thread. And I demonstrate with all kinds of different threads, GIMP, things that are difficult. And I'll put that up in the upper right-hand corner because when I started, I had no idea. People would say, do a quilter's knot. I had no idea what a quilter's knot was. Never heard of it. Everyone seemed to know how to do it, but I didn't. So, if you're new to all that might be something that you'd like to know how to do. I'm just doing my little seed stitch along his tail. You can do it as dense or as sparsely as you want. You also have the option of not doing it at all. I like the way it looks. I think it's kind of cool looking. I had a horse that I did seed stitch all over his body. It looked great. He was a white horse, and I did a kind of variegated, creamy thread. I like the seed stitch using a variegated because you really get that play of what looks like play of light. I think it's cool. Again, I am not going into the cotton fabric. I'm just going into the wool here and making these fairly small. You can make them as long as you like. Okay. And now we're going to do the little wave. So I'm at the wave and I'm using Silk and Pearl Sea Glass Lagoon with the number 24 chenille. For the rosette chain, I'm going to come right in from where I want the stitch to begin. So my emerging thread is here. And then I go right to the right of it, and I'm going to come up a little ways up, and I'm going to do my counterclockwise twist. And what I'm going to get is a little, like the top half of a figure 8. I then take my back of my needle and I go under that first leg, pull my thread through, and I'm going to take my next stitch. I'm going to keep these just under 1/4 of an inch apart, but I'm doing very, very small stitches here. I'm going to pull this thread up and around. I'm going to go through this leg, the leg to the left, back of my needle. I'm going to take my next little stitch, hold this thread up under the needle, and counterclockwise around. Now, one of the things I can do is I can pull this a little bit so that this stitch is flush against the applique shape. Now, back of the needle, under, come and take my next little stitch. If you're right-handed, you're going to follow these same principles. It's just you're going in the other direction. You're starting on the left, going to the right. It's just the mirror opposite of what I'm doing. But this whole thing that I'm doing where I'm pulling so that this stitch lays flush, that's all going to be the same. If I want to, I can pull it up a little bit this way as well. Push my needle under that leg, pull it through. I'm going right over his tail, and I'm just going ahead with this stitch. And I'm going into that dark wool. That's okay, because it's a wave. It's covering him. And I want to tweak that so that it's just going flush with the applique shape. I'm going to go with the back of my needle, pull it through, and I'm going to take my next little stitch, again, right over his tail. Now you'll notice something, which is when I pull this, it changes how this little knob, whether it's going this way, or this way, and you can manipulate it. I want it to go up, but Sometimes if you want a slanted look, you can achieve that by how much you pull or don't pull that thread after you've passed the back of the needle under that leg. I finished my rosette chain along the top of the wave, and now I'm going back with my chain stitch underneath the wave. And when I do a chain stitch with a wool applique, I go right up where the edge of the applique is, so that when I do my chain, it kind of rides up the side as opposed to laying flat. I'm going to go ahead and do a running stitch following this line on the inside here, using the silken pearl that I used for the rosette chain and the chain stitch, the Sea Glass Lagoon. I'm going to start just in from the corner. And I'm just going to follow that edge. I wanted to just show you what I'm doing here. So I've done my running stitch and I've reached the end, and now I'm going to start on my next row, which, as I said before, I'm echoing this shape. So I'm going to follow closely this edge now, and then I'll go in with a couple more rows within the wave itself. But for now, I'm just going to do the shape around the edge. I have the link for these pliers down below. Everyone always asks. I don't know what I would do without these pliers. Again, I'm not going down into the fabric. I'm just going into the wool. I'll start right about there. I'm trying to kind of stagger it. All right, so I have finished my wave. I've done my running stitch inside the wave. I've amended the directions. I've made his whiskers, I've outlined the whole otter, I've finished the otter, and I've done the seed stitch on his belly and on his tail. So that's it for this lesson. Tomorrow, we are going to start working on our 3 flowers. We'll do our 3 flowers, and then we're done with this front of the needle roll. How exciting is that? Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching this, and I'm hoping it gave you some ideas of things that you might do, or how you might do it perhaps differently or just the same, but perhaps it helps you collect your materials. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Click on that bell for email notifications. I love hearing from you, so leave me comments in the comment section and check out the description section. I leave links for all the different threads that I use, including anything else that I use within this video. Until tomorrow, here's to stitching our needle roll together.